All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. जय राधा नील माधव राधा नील माधव राधे जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे नयन पथगामी भवतु मे जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जगत गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपदा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय गौर भक्त वृंद गौर भक्त वृंद जय गौर भक्त वृंद गौर भक्त वृंद। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रीमद् भागवत पुराण की जय। बोल प्रेमानंदे। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamaudirayet nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nahistuki Shrunavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Hridyasto hi abhadrani Vidyunoti Sruhat Satam. So Hare Krishna everybody. Welcome this morning to the Bhagavatam discussion. We are going to read from Canto 5, chapter 13. The title of the chapter is Further Talks Between King Rahugan and Jad Bharat. So we will summarize the chapter and also we will read the text number 19. Rather than talk about the summary and read the summary in itself supports the text number 19. So I'm going to mix it together. So the summary and the text will be together, okay, in that format that I'm going to have the discussion this morning. We all know, I think we've been studying about the Jad Bharat and Bharat Maharaj for several days now, or last couple of weeks or 3 weeks. So I'm not going to spend too much time, but 1 or 2 minutes, because I see some new faces in here, in this room. Okay. So King Bharat, he leaves the kingdom at an early age, retires, kind of takes vanprastha. He gets attached to the deer, and then because of his attachment, he has to take a next birth and comes as a deer. By the grace of the Lord, he remembers all his previous life and all the activities he did and what he did wrong by attaching to the deer. That reason, after the deer's life is finished, he takes a birth as a Jad Bharat. Jad means Jad, the one that doesn't have a chetna. It's life. He does have a life, but he behaves in that way. Hey, I don't care about anything else. You tell me whatever you want to do, you spit on me or throw whatever rocks over there. He does not do that. Only one time he opens up his mouth, and that in front of King Rahugan. And then he was drafted actually. He wasn't selected. He was drafted by the king and his men to carry his pelican. And in that, he was not walking straight, and there is a reason for it. But anyway, for that reason, he gets chastised, and from the chastisement, and in this chapter, the last couple of slokas, Sukadeva Goswami talks about it. Why did Jat Bharat decided to speak up? And why he didn't speak up with any of the living entities around him? So we will talk about that today. Okay. So by Jat Bharat at that point gives him the philosophy, explains to him, and that is a continuation of the discussion here, okay, in this chapter. So in this chapter, I'm going into summary and the text number 19. The discussion surrounds around the material world. Okay, this whole material world. Actually, this is a very wonderful chapter. In this chapter, pretty much describes the whole material world today, what we do, what we should not be doing. Okay, so we may not be able to cover all of it, but I want to make one point. There are a lot of discussion about man and attachment to the family, attachment to the wife, attachment to the children, okay? So these can work reverse also. So I don't want and I'm not trying to say this because it's a politically correct thing to say, but the female should not take it as, oh, this is being criticism about the female. Okay, husband and wife, they both can have the same type of issues, okay? So we should keep that in mind as we are listening to this particular pastime. This is what they call is allegory. Allegory means comparison. You know, one time we talked about it and we heard that when mother-in-law doesn't want to say directly to her daughter-in-law, he chastises her daughter. And that indirect way, the daughter-in-law gets the message. Same way here, in this allegory, what is Rahugan is, Jat Bharat Maharaj is doing is that he is describing this forest full of trees, and that in that forest there are a lot of fierce animals. And what happens? That's the discussion. And that thing is compared, that forest is compared with who? With a human being. It's compared with man particularly. So what does a man do in this society, in this material world? Okay? And what happens? What is the result of that? And how does it get out of it? And what happens? And in the end, talks about Rahugan Maharaj getting out, getting the realization, and then getting out of this material world. So, in the beginning, first 2-3 texts of this chapter, the Sukadeva Goswami talks about what is the purpose of the life and all that. So when we talk about these forests, I'm sure some of you have heard the saying, somebody can see the forest for the trees. Okay? So what does that mean, Parth Sarthi Prabhuji? Give him the...
It means you're so focused on the minutia that you miss the big picture.
Big picture. Very good point. Very good. Another saying that match is really very good is penny wise, pound foolish. Have heard of that one too, right? So what does that mean?
I've heard that one less, so this is more of a speculation, but it's, you're focused on your pennies, so you make mistakes when it's...
And you don't worry about whether you lose pound or not, right?
Yeah.
You worry about it. So here in this particular chapter, the discussion is about the human form of life. Okay? So what is the purpose of the human form of life? You want to talk about that?
To know God, to know Krishna.
Know Krishna, have God realization. That
God
is
realization,
essentially the point. So what is that compared to the forest? And what is compared to the trees? Okay? So the human being in human form, we want to enjoy this. That's minutiae. Okay? But we don't see the tree. A forest. Forest is the big picture. Right? So what is the big picture for the human form of life? We want to go back to Godhead. We want to have the realization of the Lord, Krishna consciousness. So we are bogged down into the minutiae that we are not paying attention to what is the bigger picture. And that bigger picture is going back to Godhead. So that's what's happening in this allegory, and this is the pastime or the discussion that Jat Bharat Maharaj has. Okay? Before I go into it, let me offer obeisances to my Guru Maharaj, and then we move further. Okay? Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Mate Radha Govinda Goswami iti namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashat Deshatarine Vancha Kalpataru Vasya Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. So we don't see this, the overall goal of our life. And what happens is, in the forest, they talk about fierce animals, all different kinds. It's not important that we remember the animal's name, but that comparison that is made to the human form of life, that is important. So what happens is, let's say somebody goes into the forest, and that's what happens in this particular pastime. Said, Jat Bharat Maharaj says, this man goes into the forest, and there are plunderers. What are the plunderers? What is the definition of plunderers? Take what? And do what? Takes all your wealth. And then what happens though? That's not a complete definition. Somebody takes your wealth and then do what? Waste it. Okay? That is, otherwise you could say, somebody snatches away or take it away. But the plunderer word is used because somebody takes your wealth and waste it. So we have a human form of life and we are wasting it. And what are in a chapter talks about who are the plunderers. Okay? I'm sorry. Senses, the knowledge acquiring senses. Eyes, ears, tongue, okay? How are they plunderer? Anybody want to take a guess at it? When you comment, please limit it to 1 or 2 minutes, okay? Okay, Partsarthi.
Senses steal our attention away from where we want it to go.
And the way we are doing that, you are correct, on the right path. The way we do it is that we take all these resources and to satisfy the senses, we use that. We think we are going to be happy because we are satisfying the senses. So we will be happy. So those are the plunderers. They go into the forest. Forest means the material world. And plunders all those resources. That means the life given to me and also all the resources that has been given to me, instead of using it for the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His service, what am I doing? I'm wasting it on my senses for the sense gratification. That is a plunderer. So what will happen after that? If you plunder your resources and keep doing that, what happens? Gorahari, what happens? Take a guess at it.
Well, you eventually lose everything.
You eventually lose everything, and then what happens?
Well,
You go back into the life cycle of a birth and a death, again. Because you're not satisfied, right? You are not satisfied with what you are getting, so what happens? You keep working harder and harder. Like Prabhupada said, like animal. You keep working like an animal. And you keep after it. And when you keep after it, what happens? You die ultimately, and after you die, Janma karma chame divya. You take a birth again and come back over and over again. Until you realize that you are in this stupid forest and you need to get out of it. Okay, somehow or other. In the chapter also it talks about it. What happens? People like me, I'm not talking about you guys are so smart. Once we get the realization, what happens is that, what is the definition of Maya, by the way? Sadhu Sangha Prabhu, what is the Maya? What is the definition of Maya? Not this. Okay, what is the other definition of Maya?
Illusion.
Illusion. What is the third definition of Maya?
I don't know.
Attachment. You are attached to your wife, you are attached to your kids. That's Maya. That's holding you. That's holding me also. Okay? That is the Maya. So I hold on to it and I keep trying to be happy in this life. Right? But is there happiness? Patita Pavan Prabhu? No happiness. We keep going into this cycle of birth and a death, birth and a death. And old age and a disease. I'm not leaving out those. Those are the important part. You enjoy it. When you get old and you get a disease, I say enjoy. You get to relax. You get to stay in the bed. People take care of you, right? You may not be able to go to the bathroom on your own, but you still got taken care of. So, Janma Mrityu Charavyadi, you keep coming back and back and back again. So what is the main thing? One thing. Now, we talked about the family. We will talk a little bit more about the attachment to the family. But between man and woman, what is the most important thing that keeps us in this material world? For the sense, sex. So, in this particular allegory, Jad Bharat Maharaj talks about that, man goes into the forest hoping to get all the happiness and enjoyment. And the center of that is the sex life. Okay? Now, in order to have sex life that is, 14-story, nice mahal like a king has and all those kind of things, the man keeps working harder and harder and harder, okay, to please his wife and also the children, okay. They are also considered one of the ferocious animals. And I'm not coming up with these words, okay, it's in Bhagavatam. They are considered ferocious animals. Why? What does the animal do? Ferocious animal. They kill and eat this other animal, right? They destroy the other living entity. So, in this particular discussion, what is happening is that the ferocious animal, the wife, is constantly demanding. Friend of mine sent me a really nice video yesterday or day before yesterday. And that video, it was in a Gujarati and it was a joke. But it really fits in our life and fits in this discussion today. So what was that video about? A man is saying, when I watch a movie, who do I watch it? Who makes the decision or whose desire I'm following? Wife. When I go shopping or when I want to eat something, who is doing cooking and whose desire am I following? When I go to shopping and I'm buying some things, okay? Now, my budget is about $1,000, let's say, for an example. And wife says, this dress is so beautiful. This side is so beautiful. What is the man going to say? Dear, take it. He's not going to say take it. He said, dear, take it. Okay? So they get sari or whatever the dress or whatever. And then after all of that money spent on the jewelry and other stuff, the bill comes to $4,000 or $3,000 or whatever. So now he doesn't have any budget left. But he still scraps some dollars and gets a t-shirt, you know. And when he wants to buy a t-shirt or just simple shirts, what is the wife going to say? You have so many clothes in your closet. Why do you need another clothes? This was came out as a joke. It was not exact wording like that. But what I'm trying to say is that to please the wife, to please the kids, even the children, you know, Daddy, I have to have this iPhone 22, they just came out, you know, or Daddy, I have to have this. Men will do that and say, okay, just be happy, you know, and stay. So that's what this jungle is all about. But the ferocious animal and the family. So when we are attached to that, when that person, and now one might say, well, why? The man is stupid. Why can't just leave? Why does he have to do that? Krishna says, what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? Devi hesha gunamami manmani mama maya durataya maya metam tarantite. Okay, and there is another sloka, I'm just blanking out right now. I think that's the one, that is the one I'm referring to. Yeah, chapter 14. 7:14? What is the text? Divine energy of mind is very difficult to overcome. That's the reason I asked Sadhu Sangha Prabhu, what is the definition of Maya? That is the Maya. You think I can walk away from my wife and children? No, I'm too attached. Oh, who will take care of them? I can't leave them. We don't have faith in him that he will take care of them. Okay? And children are also, they make you feel, Daddy, you know you are supporting us, you are good. At least in this country, in India, they assume automatically that that happens. Okay? So that kind of ferocious animals that goes on. And to do that, to support that, what is the forest for the man? To go into work in this material world. Okay? When you go to work, okay, how is that environment? Have you heard of this jungle out there? Okay? It is a jungle. Especially with this new technology, we say, oh, this technology is so good. With the technology, they got everybody working 24 hours a day. Because you have iPhone, they can get hold of you anytime in the middle of the night or anywhere. Even if you're on a vacation, they get hold of you. Right? And has the money gone up, the past money? No. They're still paying you the same money, you're working harder, and you are, what is the number one, by the way, what is the number one problem in this country? Stress. Okay? Stress, not only from work, stress from the material life, that it includes the society, okay, government, they tax you, oh, I have to pay these higher taxes. That's stress. Society, keeping up with zones who are next door neighbor, well, they just bought a beautiful bungalow, so we have to have a bungalow also. That's a stress because your family is not happy now. I know an example in our own neighborhood. Well, some people bought a house. How come we are not buying a house? We should be buying a house. That puts a stress on the family, doesn't it? Because there is a competition, there is an envy in the society. To get out of that envy, and it's not that easy. So the man, when I say man, again, I want to repeat it, applies to the spouse. Instead of man, should be saying spouse. So they go through this kind of jungle, out working also. And when they do this, they don't get any kind of a help to go back to Godhead. They don't even get any knowledge as to what is God. When you go in the forest, you see all the animals, pretty much. You don't see any peace. Now, you might say, well, there are beautiful trees, there are gardens, the flowers, fruits and all that. And that is a little bit happiness we might get. We think we might getting happiness by being into the material world. Oh, I got this beautiful house now. It's really nice. Wait until somebody else buys the bigger house and then you need to buy a bigger house or want to buy a bigger house, okay? Or somebody got a Mercedes now and I'm driving 2005 Honda CR-V or something, okay? That is the stress. Then I'm have to worry about it, okay? So that is the happiness you might get by going into the forest. But that's a temporary. That's temporary because Sadhu Sangha, I didn't say it, Sadhu Sangha says, Maya is a temporary. It's real, but it's a temporary. It's going to go away. So whatever you have worked, whatever you have saved, is going to go away. So what do you do after you work so hard? You try to make family happy, and you say, I better start saving some money. Because if I don't have it, I won't be able to buy insurance and I won't be happy, right? Because nobody will be able to take care of me. By the way, the same children you were worried about when they're growing up, most of them, I wouldn't say all, most of them they will leave. And they may not even support parents. And even if they want to support the parents, what happens? Their situation is such that they can't help you. And as a matter of fact, you don't want to impose on them. Let's say you have kids here and you're living in Houston and they got a job, nice family, they get started in California. Now you are sick and you need somebody physical help. You as a parent would not impose on them saying, please move here to Houston and take care of me. Because then you are interfering in their life also. Okay? You might ask them for financial help, they may help you financially. But a lot of time you need emotional help and physical help when you are not doing well. And that is the kind of help. It's not blaming the children. That's how this society is set up today. That's how the society is today. And that's the reason in this particular chapter, even though it was written 5,000 years ago, you can see when you read it that it applies today. It applies it today. So, the next question and the last part of that, let's do the text number 19 word to word and then we will talk about the remaining chapter. So 19, Prabhuji. 13, 19. Okay, word to word. Ataha kathanchit sa vimukta apadaha punas cha sartham pravisati arindam advani amusmin ajaya nivesito brahman jano adyapi na ved kaschan atah kachantit sa vimukta apadaha atah kachanchit sa vimukta apadaha punasya sartham pravisati arindam punasya sartham pravisati arindam adavani amusmin ajaya nivesito adavi anumusmin ajaya nivesito brahmanjano dvyapi na veda kasyana Brahmanjano dhyapi na veda kasyana atah kasanchit sa vimukta apadaha punascha sartham pravisati arindam adhavani amusmin ajaya nivesito Brahmanjano dhyapi na veda kasyana. Please recite as many people as you can. Tanyamusmin ajaya nivesito Brahmanjano dhyapi na veda kasyana. Mataji's. Tadamusmin ajaya nivesito Brahmanjano dhyapi na veda kasyana. I see more Matajis there and I heard only one person. Kadanchit Okay, word to word. Ata, from these, kathanchit, somehow, saha, he. We can read together, so save time, okay? Vimuktaha, liberated, apadaha, from the danger, punahcha, again, sa artham, talking, interest in that life, pravisati, begins, Arim Dama, O king, killer of the enemies, Advani, on the path of enjoyment, Amusmin, that, Ajaya, by the influence of illusory energy, Nivesita, being absorbed, Brahman, traveling, Jana, the conditioned soul, Adyapi, even up to the death, no way, does not understand, Kaschan, anything. But Pratidam Prabhu, translation?
O killer of enemies, Maharaj Rahugana, if the conditioned soul somehow or other gets out of this dangerous position, he again returns to his home to enjoy sex life, for that is the way of attachment. Thus, under the spell of the Lord's material energy, he continues to loiter in the forest of material existence. He does not discover his real interest even at the point of death.
This is the way of material life. When one is captured by sexual attraction, he becomes implicated in so many ways and cannot understand the real aim of life. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.31 says, Nate vidus varta gatim hi vishnum. Generally, people do not understand the ultimate goal of life. As stated in the Vedas, Om Tad Vishno Param Padam Sada Pashyanti Shurayaha. Those who are spiritually advanced simply look to the lotus feet of Vishnu. The conditioned soul, however, not being interested in reviving his relationship with Vishnu, becomes captivated by material activities and remains in everlasting bondage, being misled by so-called leaders.
Okay, so pretty much summarizes it, doesn't it? The forest and all the allegory that this chapter has talked about it. Ferocious animals and how they attack individual and how they keep them in this material world. And we talked about a little bit, but we try to get out. We are in this world, and some of us are fortunate enough to have come in contact with Srila Prabhupada's movement, and we try to get out. But some of those people fall back, and that's what they talk about in here. Because the material energy, the illusionary energy is so strong. Srila Prabhupada in one of his lectures talks about it. The Maya is so strong, she is constantly with us, watching. And if we have any misstep, if there is any opportunity, boom, she will get you. And that's the reason it's very important, and that's what the next couple of verses are. The association is very important. The person who tries to get out from this material world, if they choose the right path that is defined by the Vedas or great acharyas in disciplic succession, they have a greater chance of leaving this material world or getting out of this material world. But if they choose a wrong path, because it's happening. I heard one of the class, they're saying there are 65 gods in India today. There are 65 people who claims to be God, okay, in India. Some of them are old, some of them are young, some of them have gray hair, some of them are in hospital, some of them getting surgery, but they're all gods, 65 of them, okay. And I know, I have heard about some of the gods when I was in this country. Those gods have come and visited here also, some of those gods. They claim to be God, okay? So when you get caught by one of those persons, what happens? You die. How do you die? You just surrender to the wrong person. And if that person ends up in a demoniac nature, being a demoniac nature, because that person is not pure, and is not surrendered soul, so they don't end up in a heavenly plane. They end up in hell. They end up in a hell. So if my guru ends up in a hell, where am I going to go? I'm going to go to the same place. So that doesn't get you there. So we have to select a right path. That comes in a more disciplic succession. And we are so fortunate that Srila Prabhupada has given us this Brahma Sampradaya, Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya. And we come in disciplic succession, and we are fortunate in that sense. Okay. But we all, I don't know about you all, but talking about myself, in my previous life, I say my previous life, I don't mean before I took a birth in this life, but my previous karmi life, you know, I did all other kind of nonsense, and I didn't know, but I had some knowledge about Krishna and all that when I was growing up in India. I had some interest also. It was not that it was totally, against the religion or against the God. But I was fortunate that I got association with a devotee. And that's how I came here. Shamsundar Prabhu, our SSP, Shamsundar Prabhu, temple president, and Kubera Prabhu, you know some of those people, right? When we used to live in Elif area in the southwest, they used to come to our house, both of them. They came a couple of times and they used to preach us. At that time, we said, yes, Prabhuji, here is the check, just leave me alone. But that, even little bit of exposure you might have, and I'm talking about when I was growing up, I had that exposure. When I was growing up, I used to go to temple. I didn't understand a lot of things, but I enjoyed the music and the kirtan, so I enjoyed that, I did that. But that has this impression in my mind. And that's what I admire about the Krishna house people. Okay. Some of the people here, they don't have any exposure, and they're getting that exposure. Even if they know what is Krishna today and leave for whatever reason, I guarantee you at some point they will come back or they will think about it. Because that impression is in their head, in their mind, is not going to go away. Sooner or later, it's going to awaken. Because we all have love for Krishna. And Krishna wants us to go back to Him. So that is there. And just what we need is some little bit of spark to ignite that desire. And that's what happened here. Jad Bharad talked to Rahugan, King Rahugan. King Rahugan was totally material. He was one of those king, enjoyed everything. He wanted everybody to carry him a pelican and, do all of that. And here, for his benefit, he got association with Jad Bharad Maharaj. And as I was saying in the beginning, why did Jad Bharad Maharaj talk about this philosophy with King Rahugan and not the whole audience? He could have gone in his village where he was, say, okay, everybody get together, I'm going to tell you something. Yeah? No. One of the reasons Sukadeva Goswami talks about is that he got a little irritated. The exact word is little irritated. Now, there are two ways to understand this. Why did he get irritated? One explanation is that because he was still in the material body. He was such an exalted devotee. We would say, this is such a great devotee. Why did it happen? Why did he get even irritated? Forget about angry or any other thing. Why did he get irritated? Because he was still in the material body. And that's the reason he got irritated. And he took the opportunity. Now, another reason is that king is supposed to lead all his people towards what? According to Vedic literature, towards the God. Now here, the king himself is not in that mood or understand the philosophy. How is that king going to take the rest of his people toward the Krishna consciousness? So that's another reason. Okay, Jad Bharad Maharaj speaks up and says, hey, you are not this body. And Rahugan finally gets it after all this discussion. And Rahugan Maharaj says, and he places the credit to the most important point of this whole thing. If you don't remember anything else and do anything, just remember one thing. Even the moment's association with the right person can liberate you. Just a moment's association. That's all happened here. Jad Bharad Maharaj, he didn't stay a week or month in his palace and preached him. Just only during that time that he was carrying the pelican. And then when he was carrying the pelican, he was, sidestepping the ants. Does somebody know why he was sidestepping the ants? One of the students? I'm sorry, what?
They're living beings. They're children of Krishna, the ants. So he doesn't want to step
on them. He sees the Paramatma in the ants.
Yeah.
And he did not want to step on the ants. So when the ants were going, he was just doing zigzag. And that's the reason pelican was moving and was not being steady. And that's the reason King Rahugan got angry. Says, don't you know how to carry this? And that's what irritated Jat Bharat Maharaj, and that's when he decided to speak up. So just a moment's association, that few minutes of association. We know another example. Yeah? In Bhagavatam, there are a number of examples where you have just moments of association. Some of you may have not heard of it, students may not have heard of it, but I'm going to say this because it's really important, makes a point, okay? Ajamil. Who liberated really the Ajamil? The Narayan name? No. What liberated Ajamil was his wife's association with those devotees who came to her house. And they got prasadam and they blessed them and said, the next son you get, name him Narayan. So that association saved them. If that association have not happened, Narayan name was there. That's my realization, by the way. So how important the association is. Okay? Doesn't matter whether you have longest. Sometimes we have a guru who may not be staying in the same country or same city or whatever, and you may not get to see them that often. But even if you get to see them for a moment or for 5 minutes or 1 minute or have a darshan, sometimes you get a lot more message out of it, many messages out of that than just having to spend. It's not important how much time you spend. We say this in a family, right? Quality of the time is important than the quantity of the time, right? So that's the important part. Okay, that's the summary of it. So take it if you like it, otherwise leave it here. Again, the summary is association and association of the devotees, like-minded people is very important. Today is a Rath Yatra day. It's a wonderful day. Lord Jagannath, the Supreme Personality of Godhead of the universe, not only of America or this universe, but the whole universe, 14th planetary system, is going to take a ride. And we need to join him and give him a pleasure. We don't want him to take a ride with his brother and sister on the street alone. He's taking time to give us a darshan. Okay? He can be selfish and say, okay, if you want darshan, come to my temple. And then you can have darshan. But no, he's so kind. He says, okay, I'll come on the street. Please come and have my darshan. So we should join that. Okay? The announcements, I don't know, I think they say 5:30. It starts at 5:30. So we should be there. We should really participate in there. Today also, I have a couple of more minutes. And I know I need to open up for question. So the only thing I would say is that today also is Panihati Chida festival also. And we should read up, if you please take your time and read up, not in the class here, but read up on that. So with that, first thing I want to offer is a correction, if anybody has a correction on what I have said. Okay? Anybody has a question or comment? And comment, as I said, limited to 1 minute. We only have 4 minutes. Question, Prabhuji, a little bit louder.
I hadn't heard about Ajamil's getting the association of the Brahmanas or Vaishnavas. Where did that come from?
It comes from it says in there, in a Bhagavatam, in a Bhagavatam it says, at one time, there were some devotees came in a village where he lived with his wife, okay, and children. And what happened was, there are miscreants in every village. Even village I lived in, I was one of the miscreants. When you saw something, you can make fun of person, we did it, okay? Because you were young and you didn't know what the heck was good for you. Anyway, so there were some miscreants says, the Brahmana asked them, say, where can we stay tonight? We need to stay one night. Okay? And those miscreants says, go to this place. And the wife was home. I have heard two versions. Both were home, and the other one says wife was home. I don't remember exactly what the Bhagavatam says. You might want to look it up on that. But the wife says, my husband is not home. It says, the sadhu says, we just want to stay and, need overnight stay and a prasadam. She says, okay, I'll give you, bhoga, you cook. And they cooked and they ate. And in the morning, they were leaving. One version is the lady, he was married to prostitute. So the prostitute says, we don't have anything, and I can't give you any dakshina, the gift. So sadhu says, that's okay, but we're going to give you blessing. We're going to give you gift. Next time you have a son, name him Narayan. That's the pastime. The other version I have heard is that Ajamil was home also, and he was not happy with the whole thing. So when the Brahmana was leaving, Ajamil says, I don't have any money, just get out. To that effect. Okay? And Brahmana says, okay, we'll still give you blessing. And they give the blessing, says, you name your son Narayan. That's how they. So that association, that instruction given by the sadhu, that's the reason children or the son was named Narayan. One more minute, Sadhu Sangha, you have a comment, question? Okay. Srimad Bhagavad Purana ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Bol Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.